if you read the last chapter of my book, which I think on Fauci, which I think is the most disturbing chapter, it goes through this history of pandemic preparedness simulations that occurred beginning in 2001. And each one of them had something in common. They ignored the pandemic preparedness protocols that had been agreed upon by the CDC, by WHO, by the European Medical Agency, by the National Health Service in the UK, of what do you do in a pandemic? Because all of those protocols said you never lock down the public. You look for therapeutic drugs that are off the shelf, that are effective against these diseases. You get people to strengthen their immune systems, but you let society continue operating. That's what everybody in the health field agreed upon. But the military and spy agencies had a different pandemic protocol, and they were the inverse of what you would do of medicine. They were about locking down subjects, about using these pandemics as a pretext for clamping down totalitarian controls. And the last one of these was in 2019 in October. And it was hosted by Bill Gates, by Fauci, and by Avril Haines. I'm sure a lot of you have gone and looked at this on YouTube. It's called Event 201. That same week, Bill Gates, who was overseeing this simulation, bought 1.1 million shares of BioNTech vaccine, which later became the Pfizer vaccine. He then sold that, almost all that stock, 87%, 2 years later, at a $242 million profit. And a week after that, he publicly announced the vaccine didn't work. So this is what you call a pump and dump scheme. Because he was the guy who was on TV with his minion, Peter Hotez, who took $52 million from Gates for Gates made his institution. So you had the pair of them pumping up this stock for 2 years and then dumping it a week before he goes on TV and says, oh, it didn't work after all.